All right, here he is, Dante Calabria. Look, 30 years, hard to believe how fast time goes, but I know you, I'm sure you ate a lot of these while playing at Blackhawk. You can't even count, can you?
Yeah, back in the day, we came in here a lot.
So, do you realize how great of a run you guys had at Blackhawk with John Miller? It went on after you all left. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, the thing that stands out, I think it's 111 games in a row section, which is pretty incredible. And it actually could have been more, but as a sophomore, we lost the last game of the section at Aliquippa, ironically, and on a bad call at the end. But it could have been longer. If you think about that, it was a great run, and a lot of that credit goes to Coach Miller, Coach Amelia, getting all those kids in the gym, and they just kept the run going. When we started winning, I think it really inspired the young kids from the area. And everyone had a basketball in their hand all the time. And when that happens, a couple kids get better.
Fulton, Hamilton, Hanson, John Miller. Man, I love Blackhawk School District for a number of reasons, but that run that they had, I don't know if that'll ever be duplicated on the football and basketball court simultaneously.
Well, it definitely was. In fact, I think it was my senior year. The football team lost in the state finals to Ron Palace.
Berwick. Right, went to Notre Dame.
We lost the first game of the year to Baltimore Dunbar, which was the #1 ranked team in the country, and then won the rest of them and won the state title. And then baseball lost. I think it was either in the final 8 or the final 4 for the championship. So we had a strong class. My senior year was real strong athletically. A lot of kids that, throughout our young ages, we all played together, and guys got better, and we were able to do something pretty special.
Dante Calabria, head basketball coach, Bethel Park, tomorrow night on the radio after CBS Radio News at 9, talking about a whole lot more than we have time here tonight. Basketball, topic of conversation, but his life. Before we move over to the place across the Atlantic known as Italy and that whole professional, really, I mean, 96 2010, he had an incredible run and much more than just basketball. We'll elaborate more tomorrow night. So why Dean Smith? I mean, because you could have won a lot of places, but what was it that made you say, I want to play for Dean Smith?
To be honest, I don't know. I was looking at Iowa real strong. Villanova with Coach Massimino, and at that time, and I ended up coaching with Coach Massimino at Kaiser in Florida, NAIA school, but at that time, he was having a little bit of problem with Villanova, so he was unsure if he was going to be there. And fortunately for me, I didn't go there because he did leave. The Iowa just didn't work out in a way. And then I went to North Carolina, and I was like, you know what? I want to get out of Pittsburgh. Kind of almost like my dad said, I just wanted to go somewhere else. And I'd never been in the South for an extended period of time, so I was like, it's going to be Chattanooga. And I didn't know a ton about Carolina. I mean, I knew they won, but I didn't know the history, and I didn't know all about Coach Smith and all the players that have been there. I learned right away, but it was probably the decision in my life that really changed me and put me in a different path than if I would have gone somewhere else.
Not to say that playing at Blackhawk and playing for state championships isn't big, but this is North Carolina. Just a decade earlier, Jordan and company, I mean, like massive. What was it like when you walked into that gym for the first time, that first practice? You got to remember stuff like this.
No, absolutely. I mean, I remember after I had signed and I went to one of the games, and just I was out shooting before the game, and I saw the bleachers empty, and then come back out and through the tunnel with the team as they were coming out for the game, and then I see it filled, and I was like, wow. It was a unique thing.
National championship. What do you remember about that? A lot.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we won and how excited everybody was, but I also remember the effort and the leadership and the amount of time that everyone took that year. If you go back on that team, there weren't superstars. We had guys like George Lynch, who was unbelievable leaders, one of the best guys I know. With Eric Montross, who just passed away.
Yeah.
Unbelievable college player and a great human being. Go down the line, you have Henrik Rode, who was a German, played on the German national team. I played against him in Europe a lot. Another really smart, great player. Derek Phelps, Brian Reese, both New York guys that brought a different element to our team. Really, really good guys. There was Donald Williams who got the Final Four MVP, just shot the lights out. And I played with Pat Sullivan from New Jersey. We had Kevin Salvador, who's also a Pittsburgh guy. I mean, and I'm probably leaving out a couple guys, but that group right there was a really unique and tight group. And there were teams that were better talented, but as a group, I don't think there were many that were better than us.
Here's what's ironic about sports, how it brings people together. So you got Terry Francona, who grew up just a few miles from here in New Brighton, was an exceptional basketball player, but that wasn't his skill set. And you have yourself, and then that Jordan thing, he actually coaches him in minor league baseball. And you got the North Carolina connection, and I mean, he arguably greatest basketball player, I think, to ever play the game, with all due respect to everyone else. So, and another young man who spent some time in Italy by the name of Kobe Bryant. So it is a small world, and sports kind of makes it even smaller at times, doesn't it?
Yeah, and when Jordan had decided to stop baseball, he actually came down and practiced with us for a while. To get back in basketball shape. So it was the blue team, so we have the white and the blue team, and the blue team got exponentially better overnight with Jordan playing on that team. So it made practices really good. And that's when we had Stackhouse and Wallace. Jeff McGinnis was there. And those were battles.
Yeah, man.
We went at it.
So you end up going to Italy. What an incredible career. And not that I wasn't into basketball, but you know, Fashion Week's always been a big deal to me. You may not know it now, but back in the day it was. And the whole Armani connection and Ferrari family, please explain that to me before we talk basketball.
Well, I started out in Livorno the year I was after I graduated college. And Livorno's a small little port town. And I just built my way through, played in France for 2 years, played in Greece a little bit, played in Spain, and eventually signed with Armani Jeans Milano, which is Giorgio Armani in Milano, which is one of the top, if not the top club in Italy. And having Armani as a sponsor was a neat experience because you had the ins to a lot of different things, especially the fashion. And so we used to go to the Armani shows, Valentino, Dolce & Gabbana, and you name it, we could have gone to the shows.
Tough work if you
dressed in the Armani attire.
But think about you. The look and who you were and how you played, it was almost like it worked out better that you didn't end up in the NBA.
The lifestyle, absolutely, and the experiences, absolutely.
Life's lessons.
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, at the time when I first came out, I wanted to play in the NBA, but after a few years, I actually had a couple options that I could have went to vet camp or I could have signed for league minimum, but the experiences I've already established myself in Europe. I was just like, it makes sense to stay here.
But here's what's happened. Dirk, of course, in Dallas, the Joker in Denver, the whole European connection flavor. It really has become a global sport to where a lot of the stars in the NBA have that European background. So it's a global thing now.
Well, the advantage they have is they don't associate their schools in sports. So the kids that go to schools, but sports are all clubs. So you're growing up with a club, and these kids, some of them play professionally or practice against a professional team at 15, 16 years old. And so like when I was at Armani, we had 10 guys, 11 guys, but to the back of our roster was an 18-year-old or a 16-year-old that would practice with us. And the advantage that gives you is unbelievable. They travel sometimes with the team. So they're really honing in on their skills, and the skill development is a lot better than it is here in the States. So when you see European guys come over, they're very skilled. Like you look at Luka Doncic, he's very skilled with the ball. You look at Manu Ginobili, very skilled with the basketball. And they have such an advantage because the mind and the skill, they've been doing it since they were 8, 10. And the coaching there is tough.
Right.
They're on you. They want you there. You're there.
And they're not intimidated by competition. There's no like star power or nothing. They just hit it head on.
No, and you see a lot of it because when you look at the U.S. Olympic team, I played for the Italian Olympic team, and what they have to choose from what Italy has to choose from, or Greece, or Spain. I mean, you're talking about a little state in the United States.
Right.
So you're getting your team, and they've come a long way, and just. You see a lot of the Europeans in the NBA now, but I will say that back when I played in the beginning, those guys couldn't come to the NBA because the contracts that they signed with their clubs were so tough that they could come to the States and get $500,000 or $1 million, and they still wouldn't they still would owe money to their club. There would be like a €3 million buyout, and I mean, it just they didn't have the flexibility. Now it's a little different, so they're able to come over a lot easier. But there were some really good players. I mean, you have guys like Gregor Fuchka, you have even guys like Jack Alanda, who were 6'10", 7 foot, that played the three or could shoot the three before it was popular. Over there,
to bring the ball up the floor,
exactly,
everything.
And those guys were good players. I mean, there's a lot of them.
Well, here's the other thing, and I just did my Feast of the Seven Fishes show, which is the Italian tradition. I've been doing it for over 30 years, but you lived that life and actually broadcasted in Italian. I mean, all the things that you've learned in your life, I don't think you would ever be able to have any other thing more successful and more exciting than the journey you had by going over to Italy and playing in Europe. What life lessons that I said earlier, you're going to take with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and then when you think about it, coming from here, going to North Carolina was a big challenge and a big change for me. And then one day just popping on an airplane and going to Europe, and I fell in love with it and spent 16 years there, and the experiences, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
But now this is where it turns into Hoosiers. You end up coming back, had some coaching stints, and then you come back home because your dad's ill and you want to help him out. I mean, it's your father, I get it. And now, honestly, I'm reading the Beaver County Times, and I see that you're coaching Bethel Park. And look, for all my friends in Bethel Park, and I know a lot of people in that community, this is a gift. This is wonderful. So what's it like? I know you're coming up against Shaler and that, but what's it like coaching high school basketball in Western Pennsylvania? And you got this tournament coming up, which your alma mater is going to be participating in Ambridge.
Yeah, it's been a little different for me. It's good days and tough days. I'm accustomed to
A little frustration.
Yes, I'm accustomed to having all in guys, and my kids are really good. I love every one of my kids, but sometimes they're not there, and it's tough for me because I bring it every day, and I expect it to be brought everywhere. But I think the culture's changed a little bit, but the kids are great kids. They listen, they try, they do what I ask them.
How'd you end up in Bethel Park?
I was here, and just one day, one of my friends called me and said, "Hey, there's a job at Bethel Park." And I just put my name in, went in for the interview, and got the job.
That's fantastic. It is. So you're going to be at this Ambridge tip-off tournament, and I'm sure your dad, who graduated in '66, knows about that '67 Ambridge team. He knows about the '65 Midland team. You remember that Shenley team in the early '90s and your teams. There's still something really unique about high school basketball. Everybody thinks of King football, but high school basketball has got a rich tradition here in Western Pennsylvania, right?
It does. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have come out of here and
like
made a name for themselves and did really well in basketball. And it's maybe on a little bit of a downward spike in this period of time, but I think it can come back up. We got this thing going on, Shoot 360.
Talk about that.
Which is a big, basically, training center. It's got unbelievable technology for shooting and ball handling, passing, skills development.
Great.
And then we're actually hosting a tournament right now with 4th grade through 7th grade boys and girls. So trying to give back a little bit, trying to teach a little bit. But it's been like I said, it's been a lot of good days, some frustrating days, but it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
Listen, before I let you go, tomorrow night on the radio, much more. We're going to spend a couple of segments really drilling down on this young man's incredible life. Dante Calabria, head coach, Bethel Park, and of course tomorrow night, KDKF, CBS Radio News at a little about 9:05 or so on my program. The Millers, Archie and Sean, coaching D1, next level. I mean, when he got the job in Indiana, I'm just thinking, and Bobby Knight recently passed, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then Sean and all the things, now Xavier, and it's kind of neat to have been a part of all of that and see where they are and some of your other classmates and whether they play basketball or not. But you've got Coach Lodovico, my cousin, he's had a great run. Tori Anderson had a great run there. Man, this is a really wonderful little basketball hotbed in Western Pennsylvania that's got chapter after chapter after chapter, right?
Yeah, and I mean when you think about that, I mean all those names that you just came from one era.
Yeah.
Basically about a 15-year period, and I mean that's when basketball here was great. I mean we won some games, we won a lot of games. Before us, Sean got it started. We took over and just took off with it, and then the kids that were below us, they just kept working and kept coming along and got developed at a young age. And if you have 30 kids, 3 of them are going to come and be pretty good players. And that's what's happened in Blackhawk. They're a little bit down now. Even the athletic, but it's not Blackhawk. It's a lot of this area is a little bit down.
Right.
But hopefully, the tide will turn. You have your ups and downs, but yeah, that era in this era for Blackhawk, Chippewa, Beaver Falls, whatever you want to say, was really a strong athletic era.
One thing all those names and players have in common, the Brighton Hot Dog Shop. They've all been here. They've all had this on their training table, there's no doubt. Listen, much love. You cannot believe how happy you've made me doing this for me tonight and then coming on tomorrow night with me. And it's just a real kick. I have such love and respect for your family, obviously the Miller family. But what's it like being back here after that journey? I mean, it's not like you went to Detroit, which, by the way, they could use him in Detroit. The Pistons, I think they've lost at 30 straight games or something like that. But what's it like? I mean, the whole Italy thing and back, and obviously you're an adult now. Your kids are growing. The whole thing. What's this going through your mind right now?
It's different now. Things have changed, but a lot hasn't changed.
No.
And so you kind of just get back into the flow. One of the biggest things that I noticed after being gone for so long is the talking and the speech and the yins and a bear and I laugh about it because now I hear everything. Before that was me, but being away for so long, it kind of gets away from you. And now when someone's talking, I hear it and I'm always like, wow.
How long did it take you to master Italian?
I mean, master is one thing. I mean, it's still not mastered, but I learned a lot just being there and speaking and watching TV and trying to speak to the guys.
You ever get back there?
I haven't been since COVID started, but I had coached with Larry Brown in Torino.
Larry Brown.
Yes, we got a job in Torino and in Italy and ended up.
You know what?
leaving
That guy,
because
you couldn't throw him out of coaching.
I know, but listen,
he loves it.
He's 80 some years old, but his mind is sharp. He still gets after it every day. I mean, he loves it. I mean, I learned a ton. I was there for five months with him, and I learned a ton from him.
You got to admit, though, one thing we did talk about, we're going to let him go here, but tonight, it's tough being a college coach now. I mean, look at, Calabria and all these guys who we love and respect. I mean, you get these players 1 year and they're gone, and name, image, and likeness, and the transfer portal, and...
Well, both of those things you just mentioned is what got me out of college. I have no desire to do it. I think it's not a good thing for the game. I'm not saying that the kids don't deserve to be paid and be paid some money,
way.
But I mean, it's with the transfer portal when you're allowed to transfer. I mean, you're not only recruiting for your team next year, you're recruiting the kids that are there. I mean, it's become a 24-hour a day job, and it's tough.
It is tough. It's
really
tough. Listen, Happy New Year. Talk to you tomorrow night on the radio, and hey, I really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Nick.
Hey,
Happy New Year.
we work for food here in Beaver County. You understand what I'm trying to say? Anyway, don't
Hot
forget.
dogs.
There you go. Coons Quality Food Sports Report Saturday and Sunday morning at 5:15 a.m. and every half hour until 7:45. And of course, the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show. Don't forget the Allegheny Health Network Sports Medicine Friday night game of the week, and the opposing coaches from that Friday night game always join me right after the 11 o'clock news on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show. Thanks to the folks at the Hot Dog Shop. Have a great rest of your night. Enjoy your holiday week, and a Happy New Year to each and every one of you. And don't forget, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. There's always more sports at 93.7thefan.com. Good night. Thank